Adam forfeited. See, when God created us, we're supposed to be ruling the whole planet. You know that. And then Adam forfeited that and gave it to the devil. But God's going to find him a people that he can give that back to. And so it's us. It might as well be us. Genesis 1:26, God said, I will restore. God's going to restore back everything Adam forfeited. In Genesis 1:26, God said, let us make man in our own image and let's give them dominion. See, that's God's ultimate plan. And how many of you know God's going to pull it off? Amen. He's going to pull it off. He really, really is. You know, I like what we were talking about earlier. That was a marvelous message that Joel Osteen preached. My wife and I watched it this morning in the hotel before we came here. And will it rerun today? Did you know? So get it, if you will. Tune into it, TiVo, or do whatever you do with it. But I'm telling you, it's a marvelous message to encourage you that no matter what it looks like, God is going to bring you through it. And I like the story he told about the man buying the land from his hand and then being just so valuable. One of the things that happens many times where we go, God will give us prophecies concerning how to uncover wealth. One of the places is, and all of this is history, it's absolutely true what I tell you. One of the places I was over in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's on the far end of Canada over there, in Edmonton, Alberta. And it was minus 37 degrees, I remember that. That's cold. And that was a strange thing, because walking from the car into the building, my nose hairs froze. And then when they thawed out, it gave me a buzz. So I ran back outside and I go, like that, and froze my nose hairs again, and then walked back in there and thawed it out. I did that 3 or 4 times, and the Lord said, it don't take much to amuse you, does it? So then I said to him, wow, I could have been sticking my head in the freezer all these years. Well, here's what happened that night. I'm up there preaching in Edmonton, Alberta, and I'm up there just preaching along, and we're in a kind of a civic center in a big building. And then all of a sudden I just stop and I start singing the Jed Clampett song. Y'all remember the Jed Clampett song? Up from the ground came a bubbling crude. Remember that story? And well, it's off of a TV show. So I stop and start singing that in front of all those people. Up from the ground came a bubbling crude. And then I said, why? There's oil right here. There'll be so much oil, it'll seep up out of the ground and it'll come to the surface. If you read the news right now in Edmonton, Alberta, they estimate that 173 billion barrels of oil have come to the surface in the sand pits there. It's one of the largest oil reserves they've found in the history. It's amazing, and it just bubbled up out of the ground in the sand pits there in Edmonton, Alberta. Isn't that amazing? It's been in the headlines. But see, that's what Pastor was talking about last night in 2 Chronicles 20:20. If you'll trust the Lord, you'll get established. If you'll believe His prophets, you'll prosper. Another thing that happened a couple of years ago, maybe 3 now, I was down in Fort Worth, Texas. And I was preaching, but I got a sad feeling in my spirit. And I said, Lord, what's this I'm feeling? And I got to looking. Some of the buildings had been boarded up. Some of the businesses had gone bankrupt. And there was just kind of a blight in the city. And so I thought, Lord, what is this? And He said, I want you to tell them when you get at the meeting, don't worry, there's wealth right here where we're standing. So I said to the people, don't worry, there's wealth right here where we're standing. I was standing in the city of Fort Worth. Guess what they found? They found the largest gas reserve in the history of America right in the city of Fort Worth. They're paying them $1 million a month, $12 million a year to drill these gas wells. Some people are having their houses bulldozed down and having gas wells drilled where the house was. This is in downtown, in the city limits of Fort Worth. It's amazing. And some people went from broke to millionaires overnight. It's amazing. It's amazing. I like what Carolyn and I have. One of Carolyn's favorite stories she preaches about is about a guy that he couldn't pay his electrical bill. They were turning his lights off. He lived in a trailer house, and it was just the most horrible thing because he had a dream. He had a dream deep in his heart that he was going to be a treasure hunter. And so he spent everything. His wife left him. They said, you're insane. You're crazy. You're the most absurd thing. You can't find treasure. There's no treasure around here. But I'll tell you what, he wouldn't give up his dream. And guess what happened? One day, his name's Jamie Hill. One day he was out in the yard mowing with a lawnmower and kept hitting a rock and hitting a rock. And so he finally gets out a screwdriver and pries it up, and he finds the largest emerald in the history of America. He found what they call the Carolina Queen, and he's a multi-millionaire right now, maybe more than that. It's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. Found it in his backyard. But see, I'll tell you what happened to him. When I began to research some about his life, and here's what it says. It says that his grandfather one time took him on his knee and read him a story about a man named Colonel Knight. And this man was a treasure hunter. And a seed came in that little boy's heart. He thought, I can be a treasure hunter. And that's what he wanted to be all his life. Spent everything he had and was broke. He lived in a little trailer house, and he was $225,000 in debt, something like that. And then, isn't that amazing? And he's, what mid-40s? He found the diamond, I think, when he's 36, the emerald. And then he's found some bigger than that one. Now, listen, it's amazing. It's amazing. I like these rags to riches story, don't you? Yes. See, everybody that's born again, that's happened to us. Yes. I mean, we were in the family of losers, and God translated us into the family of what? We were under the dominion of darkness, and He put us as children of light. The Bible said, if God be for us, who will be against us? And the Bible tells we know that He's for us because He did not keep His Son from us. He that spared not His own Son, but freely offered Him up for us all. How should He not, through Him and by Him, give us all things? Say all things. All things. He wants you to prosper. He really, really does. But Carolyn, she tells the story about Jamie Hill. And I don't know if he's a believer. I really don't. But I just know this, that God put favor on him. He had a seed in his heart. He wanted to be a treasure hunter, and he found it. And he's got big mines now. I found this one with a screwdriver, and man, it's amazing. It's just and now some of these companies invite him in to be a motivational speaker. Because he's successful. Isn't that something? And so that's what happened to me one time. I fly all over the earth all the time, and so I'm on planes a lot, and so people ask you, they go, "What kind of work you do?" They'll ask you that, trying to speak the light, I guess. And then I'll tell them I'm a fire evangelist going around the earth, setting fires for Jesus and all that kind of stuff. And it just scared the crud out of them, Then they don't want to talk to you, they're over there just shivering. And so the Lord said, that's not the best thing to do. He said, the next time somebody asks you what you do, tell them you're a motivational speaker and then ignore them. So that's okay. So this is my maiden voyage on that trip. So sure enough, I buy a cheap ticket and ask God to bump me up. You know what I mean? And so, I beg God to bump me up. So sometimes He'll bump us at first class. And so there I am. I'm in first class this time. So I'm sitting there, and there's a gentleman sitting there. And so we start to take off. And so he looked over and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a motivational speaker." And then I start acting like I'm bumbling through papers. And he goes, and I go, "Yes." He goes, "What do you motivate people to do?" I said, "Oh, I motivate people to be successful in all areas of life." And then I'm really ignoring him again. So you might have the right thing to say, but you need the right way to say it. That's the way it is with believers. We got the right message, but we need the right way to say it, don't we? And so that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to learn how to represent Him in a good way, to share who He really is. God began to speak to me when I walked in the building. Now, before I get into prophesying and stuff, I want to tell you about the book table. Go out there and buy everything out there. Yes. We bring them because we believe they'll be a benefit and a help to you. People ask me, there's all kind of books. This Bill Johnson from Bethel in Reading, he wrote one of the forewords for this book, God's Supernatural Power. And he said it's like a training manual to operate in the supernatural. And he's a gracious friend, so he wrote some things that I just wish we could live up to. You know what I mean? In here, but it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and I want you to get this one if you can. And, one of our friends was over in South Africa, and Durban, was in Durban, South Africa, and went into a bookstore, and there was the book. But this one now is in Amazon and whatever those other, a whole bunch of bookstores. But I'll tell you what, I hope it'll be in your house, and I hope you'll read it, and then do what it tells you to do. I wrote it out of Psalms 90, verse 16 and 17, where it says, "Oh Lord, let your works appear." We want to see what He can do, don't we? Amen. I'll tell you what, I appreciate what people can do, but nobody can do what Jesus can do. And so that's what this book's about. And then, but people